Hi, I'm Nick Appleyard, CEO of TriStar Gold. TriStar is a junior development company with the Castelo de Sonhos project in Pará State, Brazil. We completed a pre-feasibility study 18 months ago, and we are now 18 months into about approximately 2-year permitting cycle, and we think we're getting close to the end of that, where we will have a permitted 1.4 million ounce reserve gold project in Brazil.
Nick, thank you very much for the introduction. Good to see you again. It's been a long time. You weren't on our radar screen much last year, but it was a pretty rough old time in the market. Were you deliberately keeping your head down?
Yes, last year, because we started that sort of 2-year permitting cycle, we knew that if we spoke to investors and said, oh, look, 2 years from now, we think we're going to get this permit, it's just too far away, I think, too far over the horizon for most people. So we decided to keep our heads down, keep the treasury stronger, and not spend the money on IR where we didn't think it would be well spent. And now we're just poking our head back up because things have been going really well.
Well, you've missed it. I don't know if you've missed it, but the market's been crap. It's been.
I was watching
it. Your market capitalization has suffered. The share price is down as well. So really, we're in the situation now where it feels as if the gold price is waking up. Some companies are moving, some are not, and really that's about catalysts. And you mentioned about treasury. We'll come on to that in the short term. But traditionally, after a PFS, companies move into feasibility. But you led with permitting. Can you just tell me how your permitting fits into the kind of the next round of engineering studies?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of figured that, as we said, the permitting was going to be about a 2-year process. We think we can finish, maybe a year to get our bankable feasibility study ready, because it's a very simple project. So when we finished the PFS, it didn't seem like a bankable feasibility study on its own would add a lot of value, would be a big de-risk, because we had the scoping study with good numbers, the PFS with good numbers, you put out BFS with good numbers. It's sort of the same thing, just a high level of surety. But the big de-risking that everyone wanted to see was the permits. Get that permit, and then you've got a very special project, and very few of them at that scale, and with a permit in a good jurisdiction.
And when you talk about permits, are you able to, in this 2-year process, are you looking for actual mine permits or the last permits that you'll need to do a mine, or do you need to kind of present your final engineering plan in the form of a feasibility study before you get the last set of ticks?
Yeah, no, what we're going for now is what they call the LP in Brazil. It's the prior license, but it's really the approval of the EIA, which says, this mine works in this location, and your EIA has become approved. Subsequent to this, then you need the installation license, which is more of an engineering license just to construct. It's a much simpler one to get. This is the tough one. And that installation license would just be done in parallel with the final part of the bankable feasibility study.
And what's the mood like on these PLs at the moment? Has it changed with the change of government? Are they getting rebuffed at the moment? Have you run into headwinds, or do you expect? I know one can never say never, but do you expect this to kind of run as a process through for the next 6 months?
Currently, we do. It's, G Mining are in construction just up the road from us. I mean, Horizonte Minerals have been getting their permits pretty well, in the same state from the same authorities. So, the authorities there are running through these projects pretty well. It's never as quick as you want it to be, and it's always a slightly frustrating process, but that's a global phenomenon, not a Brazil one. So we've been waiting a lot of the past time has been waiting for the state authority, SEMAS and the A&M, to assign their multidisciplinary team to us to, okay, now you're on the block, so to speak, and they're all working on us, and that's happened now. So we sort of feel like, they do it in sequence, not parallel. They don't do parts of it. They're all assigned to us, and they're working on us now. So we would expect it to go through. I mean, there's always something that can possibly come out of left field, but we haven't seen it yet, so we're very confident.
Do you think the market will see that as a value catalyst? I mean, do you think the market is aware that these permits are important?
I think they do, yeah, because there are very few permanent projects, and the projects that have been acquired in M&A activity in Brazil, namely Tocantinzinho and Amarillo's project, Posse Mine, were both permitted. And they attracted big premiums and good values. So I think it does. It'll take the retail market a little while to realize that, but the the corporates, the potential acquirers, potential partners for us to build this are definitely watching it, definitely looking at these permits.
Is that what you see as the most likely route? I mean, because of course, there's the market capitalization versus the capex figures. Do you see a kind of a partner as the most, whether it's 100% or some proportion? Do you see that as the most likely development route for TriStar?
Yeah, I do. I've been through mine startups, I think 3 times now in my career, and I feel like I've got a better feeling for how difficult and how risky that is to do as a first-time startup company. And my job is to analyze these risks and make sure I give the shareholders the best benefit that I can. So yeah, we'd be prepared to take it forward if we can, but other companies have got teams in place, have done it before, can do it with a lot lower risk factor than we can, and that would probably be a better return for our shareholders. So I think that's the most likely scenario. But we just hired a COO recently who's experienced in operations in these type of deposits, and we're prepared to do it ourselves. But I don't think it's that likely. So
when you talk about partners. And obviously the project is well defined in terms of resource and to a degree engineering. Have you had inbound? I mean, are people? Are you on the radar screen of industry? Are you kind of giving out CAs like confetti, like many other companies do?
We're not giving out CAs a lot. I mean, we've got a couple in place. In general, we have had inbounds from very interesting corporations, but there's just high-level chats. At this stage, we don't want to engage with anybody. I mean, if we are looking for either an acquisition or a transaction, we want it to be a premium from a much higher share price than we are now. I don't really want them to have the a 15-cent share price in their mind when they're thinking of the value of the asset. So we're just keeping them informed in that right now.
You also, earlier you mentioned that the feasibility study is a 12-month process. You've got 6 months left. Ostensibly or potentially on the permitting, where you've got to in the thinking for doing the feasibility study? Where are you on that particular journey?
There's some infill drilling to do to upgrade the indicated resources to reserves, or at least the first maybe 3 years of the mine, something like that. So we planned out that drill program. We've had some bid packages out to the different drilling companies to assess that. Then we picked ourselves up off the floor again when we saw the prices, and we're looking at them because drilling's gone up more than everything else. And we're basically been interviewing engineering houses to do that work. And that's really where we sort of got it all planned out, and we're ready to sort of fire the starting gun when we decide to do so.
Is that budget related, treasury related? What's the cash position, and would you want to get funded for the 12-month feasibility process and a little bit beyond?
Yeah, so right now we've got $4 million in the bank, which is obviously plenty to get through this year and doing the permitting, get that permit in place and get into next year. If we want to commit to the feasibility study, especially the infill drilling, we're going to need to raise a little bit more at some point, and it's just really a matter of when we do that. That money seems to be currently available to us through a couple of different options, but we would like to get a bit closer to the permit first and see if we can unlock more value before we pull the trigger on that as well.
Okay, so here we are in April, so kind of potentially the permit should come through this year, Q3, Q4.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for, and then we would, hope that we can get the infill drilling started, in Q3 as well this year, have it completed by Q1 next year, and then, so sometime mid next year, have the feasibility study complete, or at least close to complete, and we can get our installation license.
And if you're like me, you're a gold bull and not expecting the gold price to come back.
I don't consider myself a gold bull. I consider myself in competition with other junior developers, regardless of gold price. And we've just got to present the best possible project. And, like when I present to investors, I've been at a conference here in Castelo this weekend, and we have the classic sort of gold price variation on your study curve. And I always guide people to the lower end of it. As I'm looking, even if gold drops to $1,000 an ounce, this mine will keep producing, keep making money. The last thing you want to do is invest in a company which has some pretty good returns, and gold drops 10% and they've got to shut the mine down because it can no longer make money. You want to make sure it can survive the cycles. And so my job is to present the best company regardless of gold price. Of course, I do want it to go up.
I said I'm a gold bull, but what I mean by that is when I look across the economic spectrum of what's happening, or the financial background of context of what's happening on global economies, it makes me think that there's many good reasons why the gold price wouldn't go down, and several reasons why the gold price would go up, or at least stay strong around $2,000 an ounce or higher. So that for me is kind of a degree of asymmetry. I take your point about wanting to be a robust, or having a project that's robust at a lower gold price, and that's crucial. But the market is stubbornly refusing to support and reward junior companies. It's almost as if you've got to deliver some kind of catalysts to get that traction. What's the news flow going to look like up until the point of permitting?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like we said, so last year we just had very limited news and very limited marketing. So, we've just hired an IR company now to help us with this news flow and help us get the story out, because we're going to have more news flow. So really, the main catalyst for us moving forward now, there's going to be a site visit from the authorities, which is currently scheduled for mid-May. Following that, at that site visit, they will give us the exact date, and they're supposed to, and location of our town hall meetings where we present to the public. We're anticipating that being August sometime. So they'd be the main catalysts. We will announce those activities when they've been completed and done. And then after the August meeting will be, really it's the feedback from that and the site visit and the EIA, which is being assessed now, that comes into the LP approval. So they're the big catalysts, and that's what we're going to be talking to and telling the world about. What we're doing, and obviously smaller stuff along the way, but they're the biggies. I
saw in your presentation that you've done some geophysics and you've done some mathematical, some machine learning mapping. Can you just tell me what that involved? Yeah,
with the paleoplacer, it's a sedimentary pile, so it's quite difficult geologically just to look at the rocks, the different conglomerate horizons, because we've got multiple conglomerate horizons, and recognize which one is which, especially when the drill holes are maybe 100 meters apart. You can look at a conglomerate one and conglomerate another, and they look very similar. We were sort of struggling with ways of identifying the different packages, and you can do it, but it takes a sedimentologist and quite a skilled, experienced one. What we found working with AI is we can do multi-element geochemistry, and the different packages have different geochemical signatures, but it's not like you just go, oh, this one's high in copper, this one's high in this. It's a package of like 10 or 12 minerals which all behave in a certain way differently in each one. And looking at the geochem analysis yourself, you could never pick it, but the AI has been able to cluster them together into really three main groups through the gold-bearing horizon, so that we can actually identify where we are in the deposit, and then that fed straight into our geological model, and then obviously our resource modeling and our reserve modeling. So it's been pretty good, because it means it takes away that human input. It's all out of a wet lab, which identifies which horizons are which. And has that changed your geological model in the sense that of mine scheduling, or kind of has it tightened up your wireframes? Will it feed through to changes in the economics? This was in the PFS, so this was into the economics. What it did is it gave us a greater degree of accuracy on our orientations for maximum continuity. So I think that does feed straight through to economics and mine planning. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because locally the maximum continuity can vary based on drainages or sort of small folds and undulations, and those are picked up in the geochemistry that we couldn't pick up visually. And the conglomerates, are they kind of laterally extensive, or is it kind of are there elements of sandbar and kind of quite alluvial channels, quite linear features? There are, and the way we've sort of taught the machine learning to work is we wanted mappable packages. So it's given us a package which will have the sandstone and the channels for one sort of time horizon model as one very laterally extensive, to the point, it's completely all the way across the plateau. So it's actually given us a 3D model across 8 to 10 kilometers and down, down dip below where we can see. So it's given us an incredible tool for both exploration as well as development. Well, that was the next question going to be about exploration. In terms of the new targets, is that something that would happen later in the cycle of the asset once you're up in production, or is that something that you're looking to bring earlier on? Budgets
if you've got the cash available?
I mean, if we had the cash available, for sure, we would be drilling constantly because there's so many targets out there. As a smaller company where cash is critical, it's a little hard to spend money now on something which might get mined in 15 years from now. So, we'll probably focus on the permits, focus on the BFS, and then when that gets done, we'll always, if we're doing a 25, 30,000 meter infill drill program, we're always going to sign a few meters and have a couple of little wildcat holes where the geos think there might be something exciting. And if they hit, that's great. If they don't, it doesn't really change anything. But I think it'll be after the BFS and things quieten down after that where we get back into exploration properly.
You said that the economics of the scoping, or the PEA and the PFS, were robust. Do you expect much of a scope change from PFS to bankable feasibility study, or is it more just tightening up the numbers?
It's just tightening up the numbers. Yeah, we don't really expect. I mean, it would be nice to see a little bit of change. I mean, the biggest impact obviously is going to be the sort of the two sides of the equation, the inflation against the gold price. We ran at 1550. I haven't actually looked recently at what a 3-year trailing, because that's the sort of one of the benchmarks people like to see. But I would imagine it's $1,700, $1,800 now. I think that would more than counteract inflation. And but scope-wise, we'll have the same plans, same mining sort of rate, I would imagine. There'll always be small tweaks and changes, but nothing drastic.
And in terms of talking about those kind of inflationary inputs, energy, are you hydro, or are you diesel, or grid? We're
grid power. We will be, we've got to construct about a 25-kilometre line. I mean, we're already on grid power, but obviously not big enough to run a mill. But we've got about a 25k power line to build that connects into the grid, and then it just becomes a matter of negotiating with the local hydro plants and transmission rates as to the sort of the blended ultimate rate you pay. We got pretty good guidance on that, and I think beforehand they were expecting that we could get 70 or 80% of our power through hydro contracts.
Okay, and what's the kind of going rate in Brazil at the moment, or is that too much detail?
No, I think we were at 8 or 9 cents a kilowatt hour as a sort of a blended estimate of where we would be.
Yeah.
I've seen other companies recently publish numbers. I don't want to quote them because I might get them wrong, but in the public arena, just looking at what other people are doing, and that still seems to be pretty close. I mean, I think they're actually slightly lower than us there, but it all depends on. Yeah.
Well, that's a crucial input. That's a massive input. Good. And just as a reminder, what were the kind of the basic metrics in terms of tons and grade and annual production, and just some of the highlight metrics from the pre-feasibility study?
Yeah, so the pre-feasibility study, it was a 1.4 million ounce reserve at a grade of 1.1 grams per ton. Average production is 120,000 ounces a year over 11 years. The bit that was interesting to me is for the first 6 years, we were at least 150,000 ounces a year, at a slightly higher grade at 1.3 grams a ton. And, and I think when we touched on the exploration earlier, the focus of the exploration would be to extend that grade material, chase a bit more 1.3, and we think we can do that as well to extend that higher production rate. It's a 10,000 ton a day mill, very simple 98% metallurgical recovery, which is the highest I've ever seen in my career. And it's a very, very simple project. Open pit, CIL, traditional tailings dam. Everything
with a flotation stage, or not just straight through.
No, I mean there is an interesting alternative where you could do a gravity concentrate, a flotation concentrate, combine the two and throw all the tails away, and just grab and just cyanide the two concentrates. But it still doesn't make as much money as just a straight CIL. Maybe with a couple of what we call gravity policemen thrown along the way to make sure no nuggets get thrown out the back of the mill. But that gives you a very good return and a very simple project and a very safe project.
Yeah, a very low technical risk, execution risk.
Yeah.
Good. Nick, well, thank you very much for the update. Good luck with the year ahead, and all power to the Brazilian permitting authorities.
No, so far so good. So far they're very engaged, and we couldn't be happier. Our team are doing really well. So, it's almost a daily basis to contact with them now, and it's a very friendly contact, which is really good. And I think we've got to work on that, and it'll all go well.